Hey everyone, welcome to my new video. This time I want to go back to this little illustration I made, and I want to show you how you can quickly create a robot hand like this, so that you can use these techniques in your own little illustration. So without further ado, let's get to it. And if you're new to the channel and you like to see a content or tutorials like this in the future, please hit that subscribe button and the bell button next to it so you get notified when I release something new. So we are in the empty Blender file, and we can start by pressing Shift A and adding a circle here. You want to modify this to 12 segments if you don't have it already, so if you see 32 there, modify this to 2. And now we'll enter the edit mode by pressing Tab and press F to fill this and extrude a little bit like that. Okay, and now go to the edge select by pressing 2, select this side edge, go to the top view by pressing 7 and move this a little bit to the side so we create the base for a thumb there. And now go to the face select by pressing 3, select this face, go to the top view again and use the control right click to extrude this quickly. Make this a little bit smaller and scale it with S, and then do one more extrude by control right clicking here and again make it a little bit smaller. So this will be our thumb, and we can move on to the other fingers. So select this face, go to the top view and extrude it like this. This one, do the same thing, maybe rotate this a little bit, move in place. So you have to play around a little bit. And don't worry, we are not trying to create anatomically correct hand. This is a cartoon hand after all, something you would see on the hand of Mickey Mouse, so don't worry about that. Yeah, so this way you can quickly extrude these fingers face by face, and then we'll go back to the top view and still use control right click to extrude, and then rotating this once again, selecting the other finger and extruding. I'm doing it like this because I like to have a control over the extrusion angle. If we did it with E, it would just go along the normal, so I like to do this part like this. Okay, and we can modify this a little bit, select this edge and move it to the side a little bit. We can toggle the X-ray and move those fingers. Okay, and now select all of these and press E to extrude a little bit more. Scale it down, and we can use the period key to switch to individual origins and scale it like this. Let's toggle the X-ray off, and this will be the base for our hand. So right now we can tab out and apply subdivision modifier by Ctrl 2, and we'll fix this a little bit. So go back in the edit mode, select the top addon here and press I to inset this a little bit and move it up. Now we will delete this, so press X, delete faces, and go to the edge select by pressing 2, select this edge and control click here, so we select this part of the loop. Now shift click right here and control click right here, so we have the other part of the loop. Press Ctrl F and select grid fill, so we have nice quads all over the place. Let's move this a little bit to the side and a little bit up. And now we can do the same thing here, so we can inset this a little bit and move it up. And we can adjust the model a little bit by selecting this edge here and moving it a little bit down. And then rotate a little bit, go to the face select, select this front face of the thumb, press Ctrl plus, so you select all of it, move it down a little bit and maybe scale it up. Okay, and now we can go to the edge select by pressing 2, alt click, and by holding shift alt clicking all of these loops, and press S to scale to fill the space between the fingers, and we'll still have the individual origins active. So now we can switch this back to the median point, and now select these front faces by holding shift and clicking. Let's look from the side, and we can enable proportional editing. Press R and rotate this a little bit like that, not too much, and press G to move it down. Okay, and now rotate. I will deactivate the subdivision modifier for a while and select this bottom addon, delete the faces, and we'll do the same thing. So click here, control click here, shift click here, and control click right here to select these opposite loops. Press control F and grid fill, so we fill this with quads. And now I want to select these two edges and move them a little bit down, something like this. Okay, I really like this so far, so turn on the subdivision again and we can work with this. So go to the back side, select this face, control click right here and extrude this out. Make this a little bit larger and scale it on the X, so S and X, and scale it down like this. Move it closer, maybe here. Okay, so far this will work just fine. So tab out, right click and shade smooth. And we can maybe make this a little bit more narrow or longer, and maybe scale it on the Z a little bit. So I like this shape much better. Now tab in and we'll move this hand, so the origin point is here in the back. Okay, so that's our hand. Let's just press G and X to move it to the side a little bit, and now we'll create the tube. So press Shift A, add a plane. Now tab in, press R, X, 90, enter to rotate these 90 degrees. Let's look from the front by pressing 1. And now we'll scale this down, so turn off the proportional editing so we don't mess up anything. Press A to select all, S and 0.5 to scale this to half its size. And now select these two vertices, press X, delete them, select this segment and right click subdivide to create this vertex right here. Press G then X, and by holding Control we can snap this right here and select it all. Press G and X and move it a little bit to the side like this. So we have a nice little profile here, and now we can add a modifier and select the screw modifier here from the list, and let's set 1 meter to the screw so we have this nice screw effect. And now you can just adjust the iterations to create how many screws you want. So this is a nice little trick how you can create an object like this. And now we'll rotate this, so press R, Y and 90 degrees. Let's make this a little bit smaller like that. Now let's press Shift A, select the curve and select path from the curve menu. Now let's see what's going on here. If we switch to the wireframe view and tab in, we have this nice little path. So if you press G then X, and by holding Control you can snap it, so the first point starts here. And now we can tab out and scale this thing up, so you can see it goes right up here. And now select the screw object, pick the curve modifier and select this curve to modify this. Now if you select the curve and go in the edit mode and start playing with it, you have a nice curved tube that you can edit however you want, and you still have full control over the screw modifier and the iterations and all that stuff. So for example, if you need it longer, you can add more screws, or shorter, whatever you want. Now let me go back a few steps, so I will press Ctrl Z and undo these changes I've made on the curve there. And right now I want to create an object that this hand is extending from, so I will press Shift A, add a mesh cube, something like this, and I will tab in, press GZ1 so it sits on the ground there. And now I will start modifying this a little bit, so go to the face select the top face, press GZ and move this a little bit down, and I will create a cut here, something like this, and select this top face and extrude it up. Now I want these side faces to be deleted, so I will select those and delete these faces. You can do this in mirror mode as well, and I will scale this on the y-axis a little bit. And now alt click this loop here, press F to fill, and the same on the other side. And now I will use some beveling, so select this edge, press Ctrl B and bevel this with few segments. Now the same here, little less segments, so we have the geometry a little bit consistent, and now here as well, so something like this. And we can shade this smooth and apply auto smooth on the normals, but we can go all the way, so this won't make any difference until we apply the bevel modifier. So go to the modifiers, add bevel modifier, and now we limit this to the angle, and we check the harden normals that will make use of that auto smooth feature. And now switch this to arc for the miters and add 2 segments here. So if I enable wireframe overlay, or you can find this option here, you will see we have nice supporting loops there, so we can just play with the offset here. And now I want to add a new object, so add a new cube, move this up a little bit and scale it down. And while in the edit mode, we can select this top face and bring it up a little bit. So we are creating some kind of a well that this hand is extending from. Let me switch on the wireframe modifier, and I want this to go all the way down here. Something like that. Go to the solid view again, and if we select this new object and shift select this one by pressing Ctrl-, but you have to activate the bool tool add-on in the preferences. If you press Ctrl-, you will enable a boolean modifier there, but we need to move this new boolean modifier here under the bevel, or rather over the bevel in the modifier stack, and that will apply the bevel there as well. If you see some shading issues like here, you just need to select the boolean object and move it a little bit so you better match the topology of the original object, something like this. Or you can, you know, scale it up, down, whatever you want, until you see some clean edges there. So this is about this object, and now we can assemble this. So I will turn off the overlay, select this object, scale this down like this, and select this curve from the side. Let's go into the edit mode. Let's start moving these vertices here. So something like this. And I want it to be isometric, so we'll need to check from this side as well and create some variation on the sides there as well. If you feel like you have not enough points, you can always extrude a new one as you wish. But right now I feel like we need to do some more iterations here. And let's edit this again. So just play around with this until you find some configuration that looks good in your opinion. Maybe even something like this. And now let's select the hand and move it in place. So I'll go to the top view, press G, and scale this down, rotate this so it matches the angle. Now look from the front, move this in place and rotate as well. So something like this. You can make it a little bit larger, and maybe this is too thick. There is an easy way how to correct that. If you go into the edit mode and look here, we still have that one profile, and if you now move it on the z-axis, so G and Z, you will see you are making this thicker or more narrow. So that should work. And now we can apply subdivision modifier to this as well, so it's a little bit more smooth. And scale this backside a little bit up on the local z-axis, so S and Z twice to scale this on the local axis, something like that. And we can of course modify position of these as well. Okay, but I don't like the composition on this, so let me rotate the hand a little bit and we can create the camera. So I will again use my Isocam add-on. You can find the link in the description and install it in the preferences add-on by clicking the install button and loading up the zip file or the Python file itself. And right now I will create a game Isocam here, so something like this, and move it up a little bit, and I'll try to find a composition that I really like. So let me play with rotation and position of that hand. Something like this should be fine. And now I will try to match with the curve. Okay, and let's make this a little bit shorter. So I will again reduce those iterations here and move the hand a little bit back. Okay, I think I like this, so we can now add a background here and scale it up. And of course, probably make this a whole lot larger. So select all of this, and by selecting the pivot point as a 3D cursor, we can now scale this all up, but not the background. And okay, we can now add some materials. So go to the material preview and select this first object, create a new material, and I want it to have a light blue color, and I want to go to something like 0.2 with the roughness, so it's a little bit glossy. And then select this cable and create a new material, and I want it to be metallic, so go all the way up with the metallic and a little bit less of a roughness. And we want to create new material for the hand and just reduce the roughness all the way to 0, so it's a glossy white hand. And then select the background, and I think some nice orange background should work nicely here. And now we can create a new light, so create a new light, add an area light, move this up a little bit, let's scale it up. And while still the pivot point is a 3D cursor, we can rotate this, so RX 45 degrees minus and RX 45 degrees to shine from the back. And let's ramp this up to something like 1500 watts, and let's enable the light so we actually see what we are doing. Okay, so something like this, and I want to duplicate this light, so Shift D, enter, and now press Alt G to reset its location, Alt R to reset its rotation. Now bring it up, RX 90 degrees minus, and let's rotate this on the Z axis to find something we like. Maybe bring it out on the Z axis a little bit, make it larger, and bring it up. So yeah, something like this should work just fine. Maybe bring this up too, so we have those nice reflections on the hand there. We can modify this from square to disc, so these are not square reflections. Okay, and now select the background. I want to add some roughness to it and reduce the specular, so we have a better control over the colors. And now go to the world settings, and we want some blue color as the world ambience, and a little bit lighter orange color here, something like this, and maybe a little bit of a yellow for this light here. And we can further modify the world lighting. I think it's too dark, so let's go brighter and something like this, and some tone for this light as well. Okay, and let's preview this with cycles. So I will press Ctrl B and limit the rendering here. Go to the render settings, switch to cycles, and enable GPU. Now, if you have RTX card, you can enable viewport denoising right here and adaptive sampling. And let's preview this, how it looks. I really like this so far. These are nice reflections there, but it's a little bit dim. So you can either play with the colors there, or you can try to find some contrast look that you like and play with the exposure rather than lights itself. and bring it out a little bit. And then when you're ready to render, just go to compositing, switch this to render layer, enable denoising data, enable use nodes here, and add a denoise filter. So Shift A, filter, denoise, connect the normal and albedo channels, and you're ready to render this with denoising. So that was the robot hand tutorial for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you like to see tutorials and content like this in the future, again, hit that subscribe button and the bell button so you get notified when I release something new. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.